I'm the book baron. Welcome in, everyone. So, we are in a slightly different location than normal. We shuffled over a couple feet. I'm trying to get some better lighting because I'm filming much earlier than I normally do because it's hot. It's hot in Seattle, so I'm having to film a lot earlier than normal. It also doesn't really matter because today we're going to be tier ranking my 5-star reads. All the 5 stars I've had so far this year. The reason I wanted to do this is because my slump is just really getting me down about reading, and I need the reminder, honestly, that I've had some really good wins so far this year. I want to get hyped about books. I want to talk about stuff that I love and just get like re-energized a little bit. Actually, side note, has anyone else noticed in their corner of the internet that it seems like everyone's in a slump right now? Did the Olympics do this to us? Is it summer? Like, what's going on? Or is it just like my corner? Is it just me and my friends? Just like slump city, bitch. But before we get into the screen share where I explain all my tiers, I did just want to mention I'm like sort of tier ranking these, but also just like keep in mind, this is still the cream of the crop. These are still the best books I've read all year. So I would still heartily recommend every single one of these bad boys. That said, some of these girls are serving more than others. Some of them gagged me a little bit more than others. Some of them did not boots the house down in the same way that I thought they did when I initially read them. So keep that in mind as we're going through. Hopefully this intro makes some amount of sense. Let's get into that screen share, yeah? It's the next day because your girl forgot to plug in her mic. Yes, indeed. So surprise, we're back with even worse lighting somehow, but it's fine. Let's move along, shall we? And talk about the tiers. So first, our top tier, these are the 6-star books. These are Been That Bitch, Still That Bitch, Will Forever Be That Bitch books. Lady Gaga, Tundra of Gottmik fame. I love these books. I would reread them. I'm even more in love with them than I was before.
Yeah, you know that doesn't explain like even a little bit is why I called this tier Lady Gaga. So the thing that I assumed that you knew that I've never told you before, so I'm uncertain as to why I assumed this, other than maybe it was gleaned through my personality. I'm obsessed with Lady Gaga, like obsessed. That woman can do no wrong. She's never done any wrong. That is my mother monster, in fact. So that's why I called this tier Lady Gaga, because I love these books the way I love Lady Gaga. Okay, that actually kind of felt like blasphemy. Nobody is on the same level as Lady Gaga, but you get it, right? Okay, good.
Then we have red wine. And that's because red wine never hurt anybody. It is my favorite drink of choice. I don't have anything witty or clarifying about this. I just love red wine and I love these books. No notes. I stand by my rating. Moving along, we have Fever Dream. And these are 4 books that I feel like I have amnesia about. Much like the Bourne Identity or the Bourne trilogy, I have a great time while watching them, but much like the titular character, I could not tell you much about what this book is about. If you came up to me and started talking about the plot, I'd be like, Say what now? I don't remember, but I remember loving her. It's for the books that I remember the feeling of reading them more than I remember the book itself. Does that make sense? Cool. And we have one other category, and I put this in here because I want to like normalize not only changing your mind about things, but also just like recognize that sometimes I rate things in the almost at the heat of the moment, right? Like I had such a good time with them. I'm like, oh, it was so good. And then like the more I reflect, the more I'm like, but did she serve? And that category is upon further review of the play. Much like the NFL, I would like to go back to the tapes. Maybe she did not in fact match my fruit. These are still books that I think are good, but in hindsight, maybe it's a 4.5. Maybe it's a 4-star. Maybe I want to drop that rating just a little bit. Maybe it doesn't live up to the other girlies. Your Honor, this does not hold up in a court of law. Okay, glad we are on the same page. Let's just get going, shall we? So, first things first. Right up front, we have Dark City Omega, and upon further review of the play. Okay, so I will say, I still recommend this book. It's a good time. It's a dystopian fantasy, MF Omegaverse, where we've got an Omega that's been kicked out and living in this trash heap, and there's a berserker that comes after her, and they're like trying to find their lust. It's fun, it's sexy, but here's the thing, I had such a good time. I just binged this book so hard. I just blipped out the fact that there was a major miscommunication situation that was like intentional on the hero's part. And it's like, I just didn't remember that it happened. Even in my review, in my wrap up, when I talk about this book, I talk about the fact that I had to ignore that. And I'm like, so is it a 5-star then? I don't think so. And then what especially made that more clear to me is I went to pick up the second book and I was like, what is this? It felt like a different world. I just was not, I was not vibing with it. And so I was like, maybe that little part of my brain was onto something. So it's still a really fun read. I still really enjoyed this book, but perhaps not a full 5-star. Next up, we have The Maiden, and this goes for the entire Cloisters trilogy by Celia Aaron. Oh, Dark City Omega is by Elizabeth Stevens, if I didn't say that. Truly a fever dream. I think I binged all of these books back to back, and I don't remember if I did it in 3 days or a week or whatever. It was very quick. It was in rapid succession. And I remember bits and pieces of this book, but I don't remember much of the plot beyond the synopsis. Like, I remember that our heroine was going into this cult and infiltrating it because her sister, she thought, had been like offed by them. And then she ends up as a maiden, which is sort of like Handmaid's Tale style situation. And our hero was like the son of the cult leader. Like, I remember the basic setup. But if someone came up to me and was like, oh my God, that scene where, I don't know what you're talking about. Who are you? Who is that? What are you talking about? If someone brought up a character, friend or foe, I have no idea. I have no clue. But I had such a good time, and those cliffhangers are seared into my brain. I was unwell with each of the cliffhangers. They just, I was having a heart attack each and every time. Again, still a series I would recommend. I had such a good time. It's definitely one that I think I need to reread and just like reread a little bit slower. So next up, I have Make Me Pretty by Marie Anne, and this is red wine, baby. I really loved this book. It is one that I'm like, fully deserves that 5-star rating. I have never read an romance that has a character like Abel. I haven't read a romance, period, that has a character like Abel. He is so interesting because he's got this like childhood trauma. He's not used to having like much of anything. He comes from such a dysfunctional background that it's like he can't figure out what love looks like. He's used to attention kind of coming with like this animosity. Like, he picks these fights intentionally, and you'll get it from the other hero Paris's perspective, and you're like, oh my God, why are you doing this? You're so extreme, like, stop. And then you get his perspective and he's like, tee he's paying attention to me. Sir. Also, there is a feminization aspect that I don't think I've ever seen in romances, and I can't wait to see where that goes. I can't wait to see where these characters go. They really are very different. But again, not a 6-star, but a very, very solid 5-star. Next up, we have The Darkness Beyond the Daisies, and I genuinely do not know where to place this. It's definitely not, we can eliminate one category. It's not Lady Gaga. It is not the queen herself. I can see it fitting, honestly, into any of the bottom 3 categories, just depending on the day. I can see it being in red wine because it was a book that I read towards the beginning of the year. I do remember, I feel like, enough to not consider it fever dream, but I don't remember a ton. I remember it being really dark. There's a trafficking element. Our heroine is trafficked by the hero's family, and they kind of set it up almost like they're saving her, even though they're absolutely not. And then we have like a current timeline where he's sort of come back for her, kind of. You kind of have to read it to understand the dynamic fully. But I don't fully remember like the character arcs. I don't fully remember the romance, but I do have certain scenes that really have stuck with me. And I can see it honestly fitting into upon further review of the play, because there is part of me that wants to like knock this down like half a star or a star, because I feel like over time, the dissociative identity disorder presentation, like how it's written in this book, I have a feeling that's not going to hold up over time. But at the same time, like, I really enjoyed it while I was reading it. What is it then? I think for the moment, and I reserve the right to further change my mind, I'm going to put it in red wine for the moment, because I feel like I said, I remember more of it than I feel like I would for a fever dream book. There is like a little part of me that's like, maybe that DID rep wasn't so good. Maybe that wasn't the best. Moving along. Next we have Below the Pulse, and okay, I feel like I need to put this one in upon further review of the play. So look, I still stand by the fact that this is a great book, but I think I got really wrapped up in how much I loved Cherry's character. So Cherry is our heroine for the book, and she just, she's got this incomplete healing. She's got this trauma. She's got this grit to her, and she's dealing with the trauma in a messy way. Like, she's not fully worked through it yet. I think I just loved her, and there was something about her character that I just really clung to, and I think carried a lot of the book for me, because when it comes down to it, like, I think the hero and some of the devices used to move the plot along, I don't know that they are as good as I remember. There are just certain plot devices that were used that when I think back on them, I'm like, that was a little cheap. Really? He just didn't get her phone number. There's certain things where I'm just like, if you guys really were into each other, you could have made this work. And honestly, thinking back to the second part of the duet, I really think I need to downgrade that rating, because that miscommunication was unfucking necessary. Unfucking necessary. I think upon further review of the play, it's probably more like a 4 or 4.5. But I still highly recommend it. It's still a really fun read. Okay, next up we have The Lies We Steal. I can't read that rating. Nope. The Truths We Burn is this one. Red wine for this one, baby. I love this couple. This is my ideal type of couple. For anyone who isn't familiar with the series, this is the second book in the series, and I think it's called The Hollow Boys. I hope. And it's sort of like got a Devil's Night vibe, right? We've got a band of 4 guys, and it's them finding their ladies. It's new adult. In this one, these two grew up together. So they're from the same rich small town. He is this pyromaniac. He's got this self-hatred because of something that happened in his past, and he craves pain, and he is a damaged hero. Because of that damage, he can kind of like see through the heroine's facade, because she gives off like cheerleader energy. She gives off like honor society student, queen bee. She's a little bit bitchy, and he's like, that someone's covering something up, and he just picks and picks and picks and picks until she reveals all. And I love kind of that icy, bitchy heroine. I love a damaged hero. There is something about that dynamic I will never not like. Also, he drives motorcycles. Like, can I get an amen? I love these two. Sage really as a heroine just like is stuck in my mind, and Rook, I'm just like, it's like I can smell the gasoline coming off of him lighting shit on fire. Delightful. Backing it up one, The Lies We Steal is the first book in that series, and that's between 2 people I don't remember the name of. So, I think we know where this is going. Fever Dream. Yeah, I don't fully remember what happened in this book. Like, I have a vague recollection of the setup of this book, that they meet in college and she witnesses something that he's done, because they're kind of like, there's this like revenge plot line kind of like going on in the full background of the series. I remember like this 2 spicy scenes that were in this, and not that this is a particularly spicy book, right? But I remember that, and I don't remember anything else. So Fever Dream, it's still a fun read. Once again, I remember enjoying the shit out of that book. That one took me completely by surprise, even though I guess I found out it's like really popular over on TikTok, but your girl's not over there because it seems like chaos. But I digress. That has nothing to do with anything. That's how I feel. Okay, next up we have A Fate Inked in Blood. Okay, red wine. Red wine. This was such a fun adventure. So it is like Norse mythology, Vikings based. A gal is like secretly a shield maiden, and she unintentionally reveals herself to a guy that's like, ooh, I'm gonna marry you. But he's like gross and old and kind of already has a wife that he's like, I think handfasted, I think is the term, to already. It's chaos. Like, it's not a cutesy marriage. And then he's like, hey, here's my hot son Bjorn. You guys should train together. And she's like, hi Bjorn. I remember the banter between the hero and heroine making me laugh when I was uncomfortable from a medical procedure. I was in like a lot of pain. Laughing hurt, okay? So the fact that I was like, at all, I think tells you how much I enjoyed those characters. The adventures of like they went through this cave with like skeletons, and there was battle scenes, and there's death, and there's a plot twist at the end. It was a fun ride. Definitely the plot twist I could have guessed, but like, what a fun book. I can't wait for the next book. So good. Okay, next up, we have The Headmistress. Once again, this is by Melina Mackay, by the way. Oh, and that A Fate Inked in Blood is by Danielle L. Jensen. And going back, another one, the Hollow Boy series is by Monty J. I feel like I haven't been saying the names of the authors. How about I run through that real quick, just so we're like really clear. Dark City Omega, Elizabeth Stevens. Below the Pulse is by C.L. Monaghan. Celia Aaron is by The Maiden, sure. The Maiden is by Celia Aaron. The Hollow Boy series, The Truths We Lie, The Truths We Lie, ma'am. The Lies We Steal and The Truths We Burn are by Monty J. Make Me Pretty is by Marie Ann. The Headmistress is by Melina Mackay. The Darkness Beyond the Daisies is by Corey Zahara. Fate Inked in Blood is by Danielle L. Jensen. Okay, so I didn't go in those in order, but like, I just wanted to clarify that because I feel like you can't read them on here. So hopefully that was helpful to someone. Okay, but back to The Headmistress by Melina Mackay. This was such a fun read. She became a new favorite author so quickly because her formula, why is there a plane flying over my house? That was weird. Okay, she does age gap, Ice Queen, Sapphic romance. That is her bread and butter. There's always a power imbalance. They're like in a workplace together, but they're fun workplaces. This one takes place at a private girls' boarding school. Because there is this power imbalance in the workplace, they really can't be together. And the Ice Queen heroine, Magdalene, she's got to get stuff done. And so she can't let this sidetrack her. And she is a business-minded woman. And yet she's so drawn to Sam. She just loves her. And so there's like all these like small stolen moments, these little inside jokes, these little things that they'll say to one another to get each other laugh in front of the other staff. Like, this was my introduction to her. I just found this at my library and I was like, I'll just like pop this audiobook in. And I was like, what is this? And how do I get more? All right, next up I have Deliver by Pam Godwin. Once more, we are in red wine territory here. I really enjoyed this book. And I think in particular, because it combined a couple of different things, I'm finding that just as much as I like Captor Captive, I love Captive Captive because there's stakes to them getting together. You don't know how they're going to be together long term. Like, how does that even work? Where are they going to go? How are they going to get out of this situation? And the hero in particular is so good because this is a reverse age gap. I hate saying that. It's age gap where the woman's older. It's not by much, but like it's enough. He's in college and she's just not. But I love it because the thing that I think I find so appealing about reverse age gaps, laser beam, is that the hero, in order to bridge that distance, he not only has to be mature, he has to be more sure of the relationship than the heroine is. So anytime she has a little doubt, she's like, me, no, I'm older. No, me, I'm not the right person for you. You have so much life to live. He's like, no, ma'am, I will not be accepting that response at all. Yummy. Love it. Next up, we have Emily Henry's Funny Story, and this is Nat's fever dream. I remember some of the plot points, but I've completely forgotten the characters' names. I know the setup. They were both engaged to people that were friends. And then right as the heroine and her fiance were going to get married, he's like, just kidding, I love my best friend over here. And so then the significant others end up getting together. And then these two, the heroine and the heroine? What? I'm making no sense. Okay, let's try this again. The heroine was supposed to get married, and then like right as the bachelor party, I think he tells her that he loves his best friend from childhood, and that best friend from childhood also has a significant other, so her significant other becomes the hero and the heroine, and they move in together. And I remember he works at like a winery and they do like fun summer things together. I remember the banter being really good. Like I remember feelings. I remember enjoying the family things that came up with them. But yeah, I don't fully remember this book. Still recommend it though. I love Emily Henry. Her books always, no, that's not true. I was gonna lie to you. Her books hit very often. Happy Place Can Go Fuck Itself. Okay. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Red wine. This one holds up. This is seared into my brain because one, It takes place in Minnesota. The hero, Justin, is from Minnesota. And also my brother-in-law's name is Justin. So that made it very easy to remember, but a little weird to read. I remember Abby Jimenez teasing this premise because she did one of those TikToks. Did one of those TikToks. I don't know what I'm talking about. Where she made it seem like Justin was real, and she's like, "Oh my god, I have this friend, and he just posted on Twitter that he's got this curse, and he found another gal that also like has the same curse. The curse is that like every time he dates somebody, once they break up, that person ends up finding the love of their life and getting married. Yeah, so super fun premise. It's a little contrived, but it was unique and just fun enough that I'm like 100% can suspend my disbelief. And also I feel like this would be something that would like end up in the news where it was like a real thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving her too much credit, but it felt like it could be legit. I just remember this. There was like a caretaking scene in there that was so good, dealing with all of their family crap. He is basically having to raise his siblings because of what's going on with his family. And she just has this mother that is just a wrecking ball. And she wants to love her so bad, but her mom just clearly does not love her in the way that the heroine loves her. That one's so good. Again, the banter with Abby Jimenez, delightful. So good. She really nails it with that. I have this fantasy that when I go back to Minnesota to like visit family, then I'm gonna run into Abby Jimenez. So like there's part of me that's like, what if I just carry that book around and see if I run into her? How delusional is that? It's a little delusional. Okay, I'm done. Next up, I have Carved in Scars by Elle Mitchell. I'm gonna put it in red wine for now, but this one was so fun because it's one of my favorite formulas, right? I love toxic bully new adults. I eat up every time. I don't know what it is about that combo. But the thing that I loved with this is that there was a murder mystery also. The setup is you have a past and present timeline. In the past timeline, you're getting a lot of like how they initially the hero and heroine fell in love and met, and just like all the trepidation going into this relationship because she's living with her aunt and uncle, and they're a little strict. There's a little something not right about that family there, and him kind of like slowly figuring out about this, and then also like figuring out like why the heck she's friends with his sister, because his sister is like cheerleader, like just a lot different than her. But in the present timeline, they hate each other and someone's dead. And he hates her because he thinks she sent him to prison and got him suspected of murder. Like, oh, I did guess the twist, but I still loved it because I still got like new information even when the twist was revealed. I don't know. That is actually one of my favorite picks from Tainted Love Book Club that we've had. That one and Make Me Pretty. Those are my top two. Sometimes I think back on it and I'm like, ooh, yeah, Lady Gaga status. I think I'm gonna stick it in red wine because it sometimes fluctuates and I feel confident with a red wine rating. That's really hard to say. Red wine rating. Ooh, she's good. All right, next up we have For the Fans and Lady Gaga, Mother Monster. Yes. This is how you should write tension. This is how you can keep tension and still have a ton of spice. This is how you write soulmates, my friend. Oh my God, there is 0% chance that you could ever convince me that Kyron and Avi are not soulmates. 0% chance. It's not in the forecast. Does not exist. Do not pass go. I love these two. Normally, I'm not a chunky book girl because I'm like, and for what? Why are you so long? I feel like Bianca Del Rio when she was like, I'm going to ask you a very fair question. What do you do successfully? That's how I feel about a lot of longer books. And this one just absolutely lived up because one, we have the spice happening early, but the tension is kept because they engage in spicy activities. We're doing it for money. We're doing it for fans, right? We're slowly learning how to just like hang out together and not hate each other. That took longer. It almost made it feel slow burn. And yet the spice happened so early. Oh, and the ending, the emotional gut punches that came. It was like a series. Like I felt like I was getting beat up. And just about the time I would recover, she would come in with a little bit more. Delightful. I loved that book. Another one going up in Gaga territory, Mother Monster. Yes, ma'am. Ecstasy by KV Rose. Okay. These three, all of these characters suck. This is not about soulmates. This is about a train wreck that I could not look away from. This is a completely character-driven book. We have three people that just collide in the messiest mess of all messes. Our heroine, she is recovering from a drug addiction, and she's not recovering. Oh, our heroine's name is Zara, by the way. Alex, he has an anger issue. He's part of the football team. And when we first open, Zara and Alex are dating, and they just kind of started broken up. And oh my God, KV Rose threw you in the deep end. I almost DNF'd this at the beginning. So I was like, I think this might be testing my boundaries. I think this might be testing my limits. I don't know that I can handle this, because it's dubious. It's aggressive. Alex sucks. He just does some really shitty stuff. But then also Zara does stuff, and you're like, girl. And then Eli, our final piece of this love triangle, he's one that scene to scene you feel different about. Sometimes you're like, maybe he's better than Alex. And then other times you're like, ooh, he is so much worse than Alex. And constantly I was like, I don't know if I want her to end up with Eli or Alex, or maybe I want her to end up with neither of them, because everyone sucks. And I think she needs to just focus on herself for a little bit and heal some shit. The way this was written, the way the drug addiction was written, felt really realistic. I have, unfortunately, some experience, not with drug addiction myself, but witnessing it, and it seems to be pretty spot on from what I can tell. That was a good one. That was a train wreck I could not look away from, but very character driven and very, very messy. Very messy. I don't think it's going to be a book for a lot of people. It's just one of those. But for the people that it is for, all right. A little unstable once more. Lady Gaga territory. Yes, ma'am. So this is a, once again, toxic, fully new adult romance. Happens to take place in the Pacific Northwest. Actually, they go to the university here in Seattle. Well, as if there's only one. They go to UW. Not only did it have really great mental health rep, the diagnosis that the hero has, I clocked it instantly, because it was so well done and mirrored so much of how a loved one of mine presents. I was like, I know what's going on here. I know what this is. So good. And I felt like it was toxic in a perfectly realistic way. It felt like the toxic romances that you have in college, that you see your friends going through, where you're just like, why can you not just quit? Why can you not quit them? That's what this is. These characters, they felt very, very real. There's something about the way this one was written. Sometimes I go back and forth. Some days I am just like, ooh, but the murder mystery and Carved in Scars gave it a little bit more plot, and I liked the dramatic trauma that we had from that one. But this one is just a little bit quieter, a little bit subtler, and not quiet in a way where it's not dramatic. It just feels so much more realistic. I think that's why I like it a little bit more. I think that's why this is going to be the one where I'm like, yes, yep, that's how I feel. Okay, Counts of Eight. Apparently I saved all of these for the end. Counts of Eight by Bryn Ford. Oh my God. This goes for the whole entire series. I love and adore it so much. I love and adore it. Ezra is such a fantastic hero. He is just obsessed with the heroine, wants the best for her, believes in her so much. The heroine, she makes you question what you would do to survive. So the premise of this one, as I'm sure you're aware if you've been here for any of the past videos, I'm so sorry, but I can't stop talking about this series. They are captured together. So the heroine's actually been in captivity for longer, and there's these four families that are sort of mafia-esque feeling, but it's just this group of four families that basically created a board, and they do kind of trade together, but it's mafia style stuff. They're trafficking in drugs and that kind of stuff. Various things are afoot. He works as a talent slave for the Russian branch of this group, or the Russian family. The hero gets brought in to dance with her because they keep bringing in partners, and they're like, they don't live up, and so they get rid of them. And then they bring in Ezra, and they're like, finally someone that can live up to her. But oh my God, the things that happen, the cliffhangers in this series, unacceptable, should be illegal in at least 5 states. This series is cardio. If you want to run a marathon, you just read this series and you will find out what that feels like. Oh my goodness. It's such high tension. It gets so dark, progressively darker throughout the series, but the relationship in this, the way that is written, the love that these two have, it's so clear that these two are soulmates through and through. The fight that they have to get out of that situation. So good. And last but not least, we have Hills of Shivers and Shadows, and we also have A Cage of Ice and Echoes. I'm kind of grouping these two together. It's the Frozen Fate series. So the first 2 books, I haven't read the third one yet, but it's coming so soon. I'm so excited. This is red wine. This combines A trope that I do not like, which is why choose, with a trope I do really like, survivalist type settings. I love that. Something about that just like immediately helps bond the characters together so much better, in my opinion, personally, for legal reasons. Oh, also, captor captive. Like, of course I fucking love it. They have to work together, right? It just like, it bonds them and just like strengthens that relationship and gives it a foundation. But also, the mystery in this? Why was she taken? How deep does this go? Is she gonna get out? There's so many pieces to this, and this has my mind absolutely spinning. I was able to sort of guess some things, but honestly, I had a hard time figuring out a lot of this. But oh, wow, baby, what a fun series. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for that conclusion. It is absolutely worth the page length because that first book she's chunky, but the second book is even better. Like, how does she do it? It's impressive.
Hi, it's me, back again to remind you that he's not worth it. Any Ashniko fans? No? Okay, so you didn't think you were going to get through this video without me having to issue a voiceover correction, did you? No, that would be ridiculous because I can't help but fuck up. And the fuck up today is I forgot a book. A full ass book. So that book is Stolen by the Wolves by Lix. I really, really hope that's how you pronounce her first name, Robinson. And this goes in the red wine category. This is just like the perfect blend of really well-researched, historically accurate, and fantasy. Tell me how she does it. It's eventually going to be a why choose. This is also Omega verse, but in this first book, it's just MF, so singular schlong. And it's definitely lower spice. I know eventually things will build throughout the series. However, I will warn you that the series is incomplete and the books do get chunkier and chunkier, which is the only reason I have not continued. But oh my god, the action, the adventure. I loved the heroine in this, and this cover just absolutely crushes. So for anyone who's a fan of A Fate Inked in Blood, maybe give this one a go. The world's a little bit more complex and a little bit different, but so fun. I feel like this is a wildly underrated book, and everyone that I talk to seems to just love this, so you should pick it up too. Anyway, that's the correction for this video. Okay, back to it.
All right, take a look, folks. These are, no, this is my tier ranking of all of my 5-star reads so far this year. I want to know, what is the 6-star book for you? What has really just like stuck with you in a way that's like different from the others? Because there's those top 4 books, like I will forever stand by them. Also, I would love to know what's a book that you changed your mind about. What falls into the upon further review of the play? I feel like sometimes I get so caught up in reading a book and I was like, oh my god, this is so fun. And then I like rate it 5 stars and then I'm like, wait a minute, there were some issues. Maybe we need to drop that one down. So I would love to know all of that. Tell me anything about your 5-star reads of the year. I want to know everything. With all of that, don't forget to like this video if you liked it. I mean, you are here, so you liked it a little bit. Even if you're a hate watcher, you kind of liked it, didn't you? And don't forget to subscribe because about half of you are not, and you're repeat watchers, so just like double check that you're subscribed. I would really love it. At present, I'm very close to 800 subscribers, which is very exciting. Never a number I thought I'd get to be honest. So there's that. I hope I see you on my next video. I really do. Bye-bye.